This is Twit.
What would this new equality look like? What the major internet corporations are talking about, what the registrars are talking about, what Rousseff is talking about, in a more equal internet? Who controls what? How would it work? How would it be fragmented? What would it do to the internet?
Whoa. I've got a thing I call the first law of the internet, and I don't happen to have a copy in front of me. But let's jump back to about 1928. There was a company called Hushaphone, developed a, those days you had the candlestick telephones, you had to really yell into them because it was a horrible carbon microphones. Everybody could overhear you. You see them in the old movies. Well, some company called Hushaphone developed a plastic hand that you stuck around the mouthpiece of your microphone so that it both focused your voice into the microphone, but it also helped so you weren't being overheard by other people. Well, in 1948, an AT&T lawyer walked past a window in New York and saw one of these for sale and said, "This is terrible," and went off into this tangent saying, the internet's going to, the telephone system is going to break. The wiremen on telephone poles are going to be electrocuted. Operators are going to be deafened by the excess noise. Essentially, AT&T went up and made all of these bogeymen about how terrible this device was going to be. That created a huge regulatory apparatus. The FCC agreed with them. It finally took a court to come along and, in 1954, I believe, and said, this is nonsense. Anybody can do stuff on the phone system that is privately beneficial as long as it doesn't cause public harm. Well, my first principle of the internet is one that is basically that rule put forward in the internet context. It says, I wish I had a copy in front of me, but it says basically, you can do anything you want on the internet that's of private benefit to yourself as long as it doesn't cause public harm. And, this is important, the assertion of public harm, the person who makes that assertion has to carry the burden of proof. They just simply can't say it's causing harm. They have to prove it with convincing evidence that it's causing harm. To me, this kind of thing is a good balance for what the right should be on the internet, that you have, the default is freedom, but other people have the right to say, you're harming me. But if they do, they have to come back and say how, and make a convincing case that their value, that the harm is being caused is of sufficient weight that whatever you're doing should be stopped. To me, it's a very vague principle, but it's a starting point for how I measure whether something on the internet is a good rule or a bad rule. It's somewhere buried on my website, what this thing is. I can get the actual text to you later if you want. To me, that's the definition of freedom on the internet, is do good stuff, but if you're harming somebody else, you're going to possibly have to stop.